Hi, fellow female activists. Today we are getting a recommendation, and today's recommendation is to laugh. Laugh a lot. Hi there, Cathy. If you're new here, your wellness coach, and we come here once a month in the recommendation playlist and just give you some practical advice. And so we still, though, have a positive quotient repetition exercise, i.e., positive quotient repetition or PQ reps. So if you're new here, you can close your eyes if you wish. Actually, though, this one, you can keep them open. I'm going to close them, but you might want to keep them open just because this can maybe freak you out. But what we're going to do, it's a tensing, okay? Tensing PQ rep. So if you are feeling safe, you can close your eyes. I will. And it doesn't matter if you're laying down, although you might want to sit down if you're standing. I'm going to be okay because I've done this before. But this is a funny one. And a lot of people don't like this one, but tensing, it's awesome. So here we go. Again, only if you feel safe. Be careful not to hurt yourself. What you're going to do is starting from your feet, wherever they're at, you're going to start tensing up your feet. Tense up, tense them up. Then you tense your ankles and your legs, and then your bum. Tense it up. Tense up your torso. Tense up the organs. Tense up your chest. Tense up your arms. Tense, tense up your hands, okay? Think about tensing up your neck and then your face, like scrunch it, get it as tight as you can. Oh, and tense. Make sure you're breathing. Tense up your ears. If you can, somehow your skull, tense it up, and then let go. Go ahead, open your eyes. Blink them open. You should have immediately felt a release of energy. That is tensing PQ, and it's not for the faint of heart. But you should have felt, especially if you're laying down. When I'm standing, I'm obviously more active, so you don't feel it as much. But when you're sitting or standing or laying down, you do feel it quite intensely. Your body lets go of all that tense, right? Think about that's how much stress you carry with you on a whenever you're awake, right? During your waking hours. That's what tense is like. That's what stress is like in your body. Okay. When you released it, that was your body saying, I'm free, finally. I can relax. When you tense up, you literally are obstructing the circulation, okay? The circulatory system, right? You can't, your blood's not really running as well as it should. When you release, yeah, that's what that tingly feeling is, right? When you release, your body's like, oh my gosh, I'm alive again. Think about it. When you are so tense, like when you can feel it in your neck, when you can feel it in your, in your head, right? That is stress. And while stress in some respects, right, keeps us alive, quite literally, it can also be detrimental. And so the PQ repping is how I keep my nervous system regulated, right? And I can teach you to learn how to do the same, but that's for another time. So you can always put in the comments, I want to learn more. So today we're talking about laughing. Why is laughing the recommendation? Well, laughing is quite wonderful. So laughing is quite literally as powerful as cocaine. Now, I am very proud to say that I have not ever, okay, um, used illicit drugs, and I don't ever plan to. I've never smoked either. I've never puffed any type of tobacco products simply because I'm allergic to smoke. I mean, I think it's repulsive, all right? And I'm okay saying that because I had family members who smoked and it was gross. And I told them that daily. But I am quite literally one of, I am allergic to smoke. So right away, if I smell smoke, I get a headache. My sinuses get clogged, my eyes water. So I'm allergic to smoke, any type of smoke. So I was never going to try tobacco in any way, shape, or form. And what's interesting is that because of my own health, right? Even not realizing that it was bad for you, it was a negative for me always, right? And I bring that up because that in itself, when you're using an outside source to help you cope, that's not useful. That's an addiction, right? So like our bodies require water, hydration, right? That's what I'm always talking about, hydration. So your body requires water. It does not require any other drink other than water. Now, like I love tea, but without preferably just decaffeinated, right? Like herbal teas and so forth. What I'm getting at is that external anything is literally not required for us to be alive. But laughter has just as much power as the caffeine on our bodies, right? So, tobacco, the nicotine, right, stimulates certain hormones, sorry, receptors in our, right? So it turns on dopamine, right? Well, laughter is even more powerful. Okay. So endorphins are released. We have adrenaline sometimes, but mostly it's endorphins, do endorphins, endorphins, and then oxytocin. Thank you. I was like, what are the other ones? Oxytocin, okay, is a wonderful hormone, and it's released if you're holding, like if you're hugging someone if you're holding someone for at least, it does take a little while, but if you're holding someone in a hug, say for like up to 20 seconds, you will start releasing, or sometimes it's even, I think it's even 10 seconds. When you're hugging someone for that long of a period, you start releasing oxytocin. That's pretty amazing, right? So naturally, we can create these hormones, right? These feel good hormones to circulate in our body. Laughter, hello, is like the super drug, okay, for oxytocin. It is more so endorphins though. Like it's crazy. It's awesome. But it makes us quite literally like punch drunk. Like, have you ever laughed? And I can't remember when I did this. It's been ages, but I remember it so well. My cousin gave me my nickname, Cathy Land. Back in California, we were in Norwalk, California, and we were at the original Tommy's. And it was like middle of the night. We had been partying. Anyway, I won't go into details, but my sisters were with me, my cousins were there, his friends. I was named Cathy Land, but we laughed so much. Like I was crying, right? You will cry when you're laughing so hard. And I could not, like, it was hurting me, but I was laughing so much. Afterwards, I was sore, right? But in a good way. Your laughing is like literally cleansing. It's cathartic. And oh my gosh, we laughed so much that night. But it was so much fun. And, you cry for different reasons. But one of them is literally because your sides are, when you laugh so hard, you are in fact contracting, right? Your diaphragm doesn't have a chance to relax. And that's not a bad necessarily thing, but again, when you're laughing so hard, right? You need to stop at some point. But endorphins are so powerful that they again are swooping through your whole body. And laughter is such a antidote to the scariness that is fascism. Whenever we can laugh, and again, sometimes we fake laugh. Our bodies know the difference in some respects, right? And that's not to say that fake laughing isn't bad or that there's anything wrong with fake laughing, but you won't get necessarily the same oxytocin release, right? You won't get the same endorphins coming out. Your body almost knows, oh, they're not really feeling it, quite literally. But laughter, when we laugh, and again, this is when we're experiencing joy, right? Whenever we are experiencing joy and happiness, when we're feeling, okay, sage powers of empathy, gratitude, serenity, when we're feeling those type of emotions, we are quite literally, you know, impacting our brain for the better. But when we laugh, right, it has the same effect. Laughter is a very potent and contagious, action. Have you ever busted out laughing, right? When you're with your family or friends and something like oh my gosh, this happened to me. How many times has this happened to someone? You've actually were laughing and then something comes out of your nose, like milk or something. That happened to me. Oh my gosh. But it was funny. And so people started laughing, right? It's contagious, but laughter is good for us. It's good for your soul. Uh, you know, as we deal with what's happening right now in the United States, don't ever think that fascism has won, because as long as we can feel joy, as long as we can laugh, as long as we can feel empathy, then no, they have not won. It's when we don't feel anything and we feel defeated, that's when they win. But I know there's enough of us. And the recommendation again, laugh as much as you can, and not at the expense of someone else, right? But laugh when you know that it's going to be a good laugh, when it's going to fulfill the moment, right? Like, don't be afraid to laugh, inhale, it's okay to laugh at stupidity, right? That is a okay response. And just realize that as long as we're laughing with others, it's okay. We don't necessarily always want to laugh at others, right? There's no better outcome for that. Again, sometimes you just have to laugh because that's the response. Otherwise, you will cry. um, and not that there's anything wrong with crying, because all of us are grieving, right? The recommendation again is to laugh. What we got to remember is that we have been in trauma, some more than others, but we went from a global pandemic to an insurrection and then into what now is fascism. We have never gotten a reprieve, right? So we're constantly in this trauma response. And laughter is a natural way to to heal. Okay, it's a natural response, especially if something is funny, right? But it's a way to share your joy and your humanity. Comedians right now are so underrated. We need so much more laughter right now. And I hope that the comedians here in the States really amp it up, you know, um, for what it's worth. We really, really require a lot more laughter. And again, not at the expense of others, but collectively so that we can hold each other high and help each other through this. And laughter, again, it is absolutely the opposite of what fascism wants. And when we laugh, we are winning. Okay. So don't forget that when you laugh, you're not, again, doing so at the expense of others, but you're spreading the joy that comes from laughter. And that's important. But it is a sensational way to, have a cathartic moment, especially if you've had a heavy time of it, right? Laughing is so soothing once you've done and you're not sore anymore. But laughing is awesome. And I hope that we laugh a lot more to get through this. Okay. Laughing for the right reasons, but laughing nonetheless. And I want to see more smiles as well as more laughing. So find what makes you laugh and get a lot more of it. Until next time, take care, take charge. God bless.